Hey, and welcome back to another episode of The Straight Shooter Recruiter. I'm Emily Durham, a senior recruiter by day, podcast host by night, and then career coach on the weekends. I am so excited to be sitting down recording this, obviously in my pajamas. It's been a long time. It's been since July that I've sat down to record something that was exclusively for the podcast. I've been spending the last couple of months really investing on the YouTube side of things, as well as just spending some time to process some stuff. If you are already subscribed to me on YouTube, you already know what's going on. I've had a lot of kind of health concerns with my puppy. And then, I don't want to get into it. It was a whole thing. If you're curious or just want to kind of get in the know about what the heck's going on personally, definitely head over to my YouTube channel. It's just Emily Durham as the channel, and I'll link it in the description of this episode. But I am so jazzed to be sitting down, getting back to basics. I have a lot of really amazing content coming up for us over the next few weeks, and I'm just really excited for you to crack into it. So today we're going to talk about something that is like red hot, on fire. It is everywhere. Every time I turn on the news, it's the Great Resignation. So we're going to talk about what the heck that is, and most importantly, what does that actually mean for us when we're looking for jobs? So grab a coffee, let's get comfortable, and let's talk some careers. First things first, what the actual heck is the Great Resignation? It's actually a pretty new term, so if you're not familiar with it, you're in good company. A lot of people, myself included, just recently started hearing this term being coined for the absolutely crazy job market that we're seeing. In fact, the Great Resignation technically has started in May 2021, which is super, super recent. And what does it mean? The Great Resignation is a term being used to describe the number of voluntary attrition or voluntary quits in the North American job market. Essentially, more people are quitting their jobs. And when I say more, I'm talking way more. I'm talking numbers we've never seen. There was actually a study conducted by the Bureau of Labor Stats in the US. So this is an American specific statistic, although it's pretty safe to say that what happens in the US tends to be mirrored in Canada, especially from a recruitment perspective. In August alone, there was a record-breaking 4.3 million Americans quitting their jobs. And that leads the question to be asked, okay, why? Why are people quitting their jobs? And this is where we have to think about the context of the last 2 years. Naturally, we were in a pandemic. I don't think that's a surprise or a secret to any of us, unfortunately. And over the last couple of years, we've seen some pretty interesting things from a work perspective. Most of us transitioned to work from home, or worse, were forced to go into the office, or were in employment fields or areas where you had no choice but to be working in person. So we now have this really confused definition of work-life balance. Suddenly, the 9 to 5 turns into a 9 to 9. Suddenly, you're working all day and all night with absolutely no separation because your office is your home and your home is your office. So people got really burnt out. On top of that, a lot of employers really didn't change the way they were treating their employees. I kind of saw this tweet that kind of puts this in a great perspective. We were literally living through a pandemic, a moment in history that would define us. And we had our companies say, yeah, that's great. I get there is death and fear being kind of propagated everywhere. I still need you to show up to the office and work and do your job like nothing has happened. Really dismissing the amount of trauma and stress and burden emotionally and financially the pandemic has put on so many people. So you couple the last couple of years of being burnt out with the lack of appreciation, the lack of raises that have happened over the last couple of years, also as a result of the pandemic, and people are fed up. People are no longer willing to accept these semi-okay jobs with crappy pay who frankly didn't give an SHIT about us during the pandemic, and people are saying, great, I'm out. I'm going to go start my own venture or find a company that actually appreciates me. You might be asking, was this inevitable? Was there anything that employers could do or could have done to mitigate this great resignation or losing a big chunk of the workforce? And the answer is maybe. I don't actually have the answer for that. If you were to ask me my opinion on what companies could have done or could be doing, a lot of it comes back to how you value your employees. And valuing is not things like pizza lunch on Wednesdays. It's legitimate flexibility in the way that we work. Is it necessary to come into the office 5 days a week? Probably not. Is it necessary to be at my desk from 9 to 5? Probably not. So, looking at ways you can make the workday flexible, and also, most importantly, it feels like a lot of companies forget that the only way employees truly feel valued is through the money, honey. Like, I don't care how many Krispy Kreme donuts you throw at my desk. My paycheck better reflect the work that I'm doing. So, if you are a small business owner or if you're working in a field where you have to start thinking about how to retain top talent, you always have to look at how people feel and, most importantly, how people are compensated. Okay, forget about companies for a second. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for us as job seekers or potential candidates? It means a couple of things. Number one, you might also be feeling this level of burnout or exhaustion or just looking for a new opportunity because of how you were treated over the pandemic. To which I say, do what you got to do. These companies are wonderful and some of them really treat us amazingly. But if you are not at a company that truly values you, and makes you feel appreciated both in the way they treat you as well as in the way they compensate you, pack your bags and go. Like, I'm all for you leaving and finding things that are actually going to suit you long term. So definitely tune in with yourself and see if there's anything you can do to make you enjoy your current job more. And if the answer is no, I'm all for you starting that job search. If you're already in that job search bucket, if you're looking for your next opportunity, it's a really, really good time to be looking for a job right now, especially in hot industries. Thinking about areas like technology, even human resources is an area that's really, really high in demand right now. What the Great Resignation means is that there's more candidates, but there's way more jobs available because people are leaving and companies are panicking. They're aggressively recruiting to fill those positions, and candidates are now able to be picky. Think about it. If you just quit your job because you weren't treated well, you're not going to rush into another organization that's going to treat you the same way. So, I have a couple of key tips to help you with job searching during the Great Resignation. Tip number one, figure out what you want and figure out what you don't. What were some of the things that were great about your last job? And what were some of the things that pushed you to leave? So make sure you have this list so that you can adequately research the companies you're applying to and interviewing for to make sure that you're making the right decision for yourself long term. If you've been a long-time listener, thank you, but you already know what I'm about to say. Up to 80% of jobs are filled before they're even posted. So, what does that mean for us? It means we need to keep networking because if we have people advocating for us at different companies, instead of you having to find out about a job being posted once it gets, put up on LinkedIn or Indeed, you might have someone emailing, calling, or texting you saying, "Hey, Susie on my team just quit. I haven't posted the job yet. Would you be interested?" So it's really critical that you're networking. If you want some tips on how to do this, I have lots of content on that on my podcast, on YouTube, as well as on my Instagram. But now is not the time to let up on networking, especially as so many of us are still working from home. It's really easy to hop on a Zoom call, have a 20-minute chat, and really keep that relationship going to help you identify your next move. My third tip is one that is a little bit harder to figure out, but it's one that's really important. So we know that people are leaving their jobs because of the Great Resignation, and that's great. That makes total sense. But the Great Resignation didn't just invent itself. People are resigning because they feel undervalued or they are undervalued. So you need to figure out why the companies are experiencing this intense turnover. Sometimes turnover is natural. It happens all the time. I literally see it every single day. It is totally normal. However, if you've noticed there are 15 jobs posted at a given company, that's a little questionable. Why is everyone running for the hills? So, my suggestion would be do your homework before any interviews or career chats, and especially ask, why are these roles open? What did the candidates tell you after they left the role? Why are they interested? Do you know what kind of roles they moved into afterwards? Try to figure out if people are leaving the company because they're burnt out and they're looking for a change, or if it's because fundamentally this company sucks. Although we are living through the Great Resignation and there are more jobs available, competition is just as steady. So please do not be hard on yourself if it still feels like it's taking a long time for you to land your dream job. Just because there are more positions available doesn't mean that everyone is going to get a job in a week or 2 weeks. The average to fill a position is still about 4 to 5 months long. So please be kind to yourself. Don't expect things to happen overnight. The idea of this episode is just to keep you in the loop about what's happening in in the job market so you can understand what our landscape looks like, why you're seeing certain positions available, and most importantly, so that you can protect yourself up against companies that are not going to be treating you as well as you deserve. I really hope that this little episode was helpful. Friendly reminder, if you want more content from me, you can head over to my Instagram and TikTok at emily.b.recruiter for short little bites on career, professional development, and confidence tips. And you can head over to my YouTube channel at Emily Durham, where we talk all things careers, as well as some personal and lifestyle videos that I think are a whole lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this episode, I beg of you, I beggeth and I pleadeth, please leave a, what are they called? A review. Please leave a review. That would be really, really helpful on whatever streaming platform you're listening to. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you next week.